Hello and welcome to Front Row Racing. It's Friday night, which means it's time for the FRR-idays Cup, round 12 at Monza. Now, I've got to send out a quick apology to a couple of the drivers that haven't been able to get into the lobby this evening, and that is mainly because we've got quite a few new drivers this week, and also quite a few of the regulars. Now, we have been saying to the drivers all season long that it is a first come, first served situation for the spaces in the lobby. So yes, we apologise if you've not been able to get in, but you do have to be kind of quick at getting accepted on the invite. Now, I'm from Row Racing DP, otherwise known as Dave Lays in Beds. I'm joined in the commentary box by from Row Racing RI. How are you this evening, Ray?
Yeah, I'm very well. How's yourself?
I'm not too bad, although I did mention to you just before we came live on air, I completely forgot that I'd said to the drivers last week, if you want, next week, send us a message before the race, and we'll mention it on the broadcast, which I kind of forgot about. So when I came online at 7 o'clock, I'd got one message and I was like, oh, I forgot about that. Within the space of 10 minutes, I'd got about another 8. So I haven't got access to any of those messages, I'm afraid. It came through a little bit too late, but Ray may be able to spot a few of those. Okay, we have got some new drivers in this week, so I'll quickly go through what drivers we have got in with us this evening. We've got Alex, he's a new one for us, and RMS Maranello, Twist Royalty, and Boran C2709, Boran being a new driver. John Rhinos and Azamor, we know who both of those are. F1 Roadrunner and Cool Mr. Ennis, and I'll apologise now if either me or Ray get his name wrong. It'll end up being quite funny if we do, but apologies if we do get it wrong. In the McLarens, we've got Mr. Hamilton 44, then we've got Lefty Hardtail and RDB, Millstar, That Guy Myron 2000, and then we have Drew 871105. Those drivers that I know were wanting to get in and were unable to get in are W Butler, Stringy B, and also Stocky, who's dropped out of the World Championship now, did ask whether he'd be able to take part in the FRR-idays. So apologies to those guys for not being able to get in. Eventually going to have to be a little bit quicker on accepting those invites. There was something I was just reminded myself that I was going to have to mention, and I've completely forgotten what it was now. But yeah, anyway. Now, for the new drivers this week, it's going to be an interesting one for them. Monza is not the most difficult of circuits, but it is a racetrack that can cause a few accidents. Now, the FRR-idays Cup, it is the feeder series into our F1 leagues, the World Championship, the No Assist League, and the World Series, the Assists Allowed League. So the drivers here today, they're basically here to show what they can do. Race clean, race fair, do things right, and the opportunities will be there for them to go onto the reserve driver list. I've just remembered what it was that I was going to mention, and that is to those drivers who haven't managed to get in, if you're already on the reserve driver list, don't panic, you will still be on the reserve driver list. Okay. Now, the FRR-idays Cup, as I mentioned, it is the feeder series, and I'm trying to find Mr. Hamilton 44. Now, Mr. Hamilton 44, he's been an FRR-idays driver for a while now, and he had his first reserve race in the World Championship on Wednesday. Went very, very well, got himself a second place. So, going to show that the guys in the FRR-idays, quite a few of them are very, very quick. Okay, how are we doing for time, Ray?
Time's 32 minutes past, but I'm struggling to find the live stream.
Are you? It was on when I looked.
It's saying this channel doesn't have any content.
Okay, bear with me a second. I apologise, drivers. I won't fire my PC back on. I'll just quickly check it on my phone. Now the drivers will be ready to go to the racetrack. We will send them over to the racetrack in a moment's time. I just want to make sure that the live stream is up and running and working. It was when I shared the link. and I've seen a few people have come on to watch it, so we'll see what happens when I click on it.
Go for the link for Facebook then.
Maybe it's just you, Ray. It doesn't want to work for you.
Nothing does.
It's being in Scotland, you see.
That's an exception.
Let's see. Is it working for me? I'm just going on to YouTube now. Yep, it's up and running. It's live, Ray. It's just you, I'm afraid. So, all working fine there from what I can see. So, we'll send the drivers over to the racetrack then for the FRR-idays Cup, round 12 at Monza. And this is a racetrack very similar to Spa in Belgium, where as much as we enjoy seeing a bit of wet weather, this is a racetrack where really I'd rather not. I'd rather see the drivers battle it out in the dry and just see how they get on. Setups can be tricky for this particular track because you do need high speed, but you also need the car to be able to handle the corners. Sounded like you was about to say something there, Ray.
I'm just trying to find the live stream to keep up with the messages. So I'll let you continue on while I get...
Okay. I'll tell you, just click your microphone onto mute for a moment while you try and sort that out. I went onto the Facebook page, clicked on the link, and it worked okay for me. Okay, the FRR-idays Cup, round 12 in Monza. Let's have a look at what the weather's going to be like. We've got an 18-minute qualifying session for the drivers. Parc Ferme is damaged. Is off. Damage is off so that no one's race gets ruined from any collisions and gives the drivers the opportunity to put in the laps, because for most of them they will have been putting in the practice. Now, for the drivers, it's an interesting session this, because ideally they all want to be fast, they all want to get on pole position, but they also need to look after their tyres a little bit. But Monza is an interesting circuit. It's not really much of a tyre eater. The tyre wear is not too aggressive around here, which means that anyone that goes out with only enough fuel to do the one flying lap will miss out on the fact that the second flying lap tends to be the faster one. But we have a driver going out on track, and it's one of the new guys. Aha, Alex, and I'm sorry, but with that kind of name, it just makes me think of Alan Partridge, where he goes, aha! But I'm very bad at impressions, so I'll probably mess that one up a little bit. Now, beautiful sunny weather here for the drivers, and we'll just have a quick look at what it says for the weather forecast. Dry conditions likely throughout, which is exactly what the drivers will want to see, and I actually do as well. Now, a little bit of information for the new drivers. I did have a word with them in the lobby beforehand, or at least the ones that had their microphones on, and that is that the FRR rules are not imposed on the FRR-idays Cup events, but we would like the drivers to keep up to date with the FRR rulebook and the stewards' guides, so that if they do have the opportunity of having a reserve drive, they're not going to get caught out. And around the Monza circuit, we'll be able to tell in a couple of certain parts of the track whether any of the drivers have actually gone and looked for the stewards' guides. For example, up at turns 4 and 5, we've put in place a little bit of something interesting, really, which makes for good TV and also for safer driving. Anyway, Alex here coming around the Parabolica to start his first flying lap, and on that out lap it did look like he'd got a bit of a touch of understeer. So very low aerodynamic setup on the front end of that car, I would guess. So as he's in 8th gear, it says 214 mile an hour on his dashboard, but really you want to be looking at about 220, 225, if not a little bit more. Nicely through the first 2 corners. The first chicane, now around Curva Grande, twitching the wheel a little bit, kind of shows that he'll be a pad user. Now into turns 4 and 5, tricky pair of corners. You can see kind of a little bit slow through there, but keeping it on the track. And for a lot of the drivers, really, with the new FIA strict ruling, they will want to get a banker lap in. Oh, that might be Alex's lap invalidated there, or he may have just got away with that one. was sector 1 time for 28.444, and not too far to go to see what his sector 2 time is as he makes his way up towards the Ascari chicane. A fantastic triple corner, all about confidence, grip. The rear end's going a little bit twitchy on him. Front end's understeering, the rear end's oversteering. It's a 29.4 sector 2 time. Now just the parabolica to go. Now we saw him understeer on his out lap. Let's see how he gets on his hot lap. Controlling the understeer this time, manages to get on the power, not using all of the track. DRS not open yet because the line is here, and now that is a provisional pole position time of a 125.2. Twist Royalty now making his way to the start finish line on a set of prime tyres. Fairly decent sector 1 time, and that puts him second of a 124.3. Alex has already been bumped down to third as F1 Roadrunner goes first. He's in a Ferrari, so that's no surprise. Okay, Ray, have you managed to find the live stream now?
No, not yet. I'll fiddle about while I'm commenting. So what would be your time, would you say, around this track?
You know what? I forgot to have a look at what the sort of lap times are that we were doing as F1 Roadrunner goes past the car that's just had a moment off at turn 4. Off the top of my head, 20s, 21s, 22s maybe, I can't remember exactly. It gets a bit confusing when you get a little bit old like I am, remembering the days when we was hammering around here in the 119s, whereas I think in the World Championship last season we were looking at high 21s possibly, or low 21s. But anyway, F1 Roadrunner, he's done a 27.6 sector 1, he's had a fantastic sector 2, 28.0, a brilliant exit through the Ascari, overtaking a car now into the Parabolica. It's going to compromise his entry into the Parabolica. He's going to have a decent exit though. Is he going for the pits or is he going to complete the lap? He's going to complete the lap. He may improve on his lap time, and it is a 121.807, and that does put him confirmed first place. Millstar is in second place at the moment on a set of prime tyres. Almost looks like he's trying to get a bit of temperature into them as well. Or is he backing out to go for the pits? No, he's firing himself up for another flying lap. So let's see how Millstar gets on then. On the prime tyre, he's done a sector 1 time for 27.9. So as he makes his way now up to turn 1. Very heavy braking point this. One that you really don't want to get wrong, because if you do, you're going straight on. A little bit twitchy on the rear end on the way through turn 1. Now around the Curva Grande. Absolutely flat out. And this is where it used to be a beautiful corner, having DRS wide open around here, controlling the rear twitches of the car, but not able to do that anymore. Into turn 4 and 5. Clips the apex. Covers the apex. Nicely done there, but it looks like it's actually invalidated his lap. So maybe we've got a bit of a visual effect here that shows his car slightly out of position. Okay, Boran at C2709, another one of the new drivers on a set of option tyres. Sector 1 time for 28.4, a little bit off F1 Roadrunner's time, but now he's making his way into Curva Grande, not Curva Grande, Ascari. Very cautious through there, but when he got the power down, the rear end stepped out. Perhaps a little bit of a could have Ascari there as well. 29.9 sector 2 time as he makes his way now to the Parabolica. Let's see if he's got the rear end grip on the exit of the corner. He hasn't quite got the front end grip. He's going to wash out wide. He's had to lift off the throttle to pull it back in, and now making his way to the start finish line in 8th at the moment, and stays 8th with a 125.8. Cool Mr. Ennis. I believe his lap time has been invalidated.
Crash. I think it was out the double right hand corner. So
the Lesmos then. So as he starts a new flying lap then, he's now making his way into turn 1. Now from what I've seen so far, I would guess that a lot of these drivers are running very, very low aero setup around here. Now when you've got part firme off, you can do that in the qualifying session, try and get the maximum out of the car. But when you put the fuel in, very, very low aeros isn't always the best way. Not quite on the racing line for turn 4 here, going to compromise him through the chicane. And now as he makes his way to the Lesmos. Not quite confident on turning, but he's trying to push the car around, steer it with the rear. Oh, not quite making the apex. The front end's not quite going where he wants it to be. I think if I was him, I'd be taking the car back to the pit lane, adding a little bit of front wing on that, just to try and get that front end to go where he wants it to. Now into the Ascari chicane. Taking a very early entry to the corners, that's also not going to help him. Need to use all of the road, but that's what these sessions are for. It's kind of a learning session to a degree for the drivers. Come along, race, improve. That's what it's all about. 27.9 sector 1, 29.1 sector 2. Let's see how he does across the line, or whether he's listened to me and he's going for the pits. No, he's not. He is going to complete the lap. Currently 11th. Now moves to 9th with a 124.2. Lefty hardtail, got a bit of traffic ahead of him in the form of a Sauber. Not sure who is in that car at the moment. But Lefty hardtail had a couple of interesting FRR-idays races of late. Now Ray, I hear you were able to spot some of the messages the drivers did send in before the race. Are you able to tell us a few of those, or are you still busy trying to get onto the live stream?
Milstar 12, he said he struggled for setup and the car has been loose under braking into turn 1-2, but positive looking to beat RMS Maranello as a target.
Interesting target.
Guys could be a problem, but RS Maranello's up in first place and Milstar is in 5th place at the moment and he's 2.1 seconds behind.
So got a bit of time to find to beat his target then, so keep an eye out for Milstar trying to battle RMS Maranello. Lefty hardtail's about to finish a lap. I think he's going to improve on his lap time. He's had a very good sector 2. It's 3rd place for Lefty hardtail. Okay, Ray, who else have you had any comments from? Mr. Hamilton 44, have we got one from him?
No, I don't have.
Oh, actually, I've got his.
Have you?
Yeah, you tell us someone else's and I'll get his.
Mr. Ron.
That guy, my Ron. Yep.
Mr. Ron will call. Excited about today. 2 things will happen. Either I'm a success or I will fail. It's not a test, it's just to see how you get on.
Exactly. Okay, Mr. Hamilton 44, he said he had a blast on Wednesday night when he made his debut as a reserve in the World Championship. Still looking forward to the race this evening, as spectacular things always happen in these races. Monza is not a favourite of mine, so should be interesting to see what my opponents can do. Still expecting to be on the podium at least, as one of the faster guys, It's Hammer Time, has now moved to the World Championship, so bring it on. Well, Mr. Hamilton 44 is just about to start another flying lap. He's just going to put himself in at 2nd place. We'll see if we can improve on his sector 1 time. So who else have we got comments from there, Ray?
Boran C2709, excited for the race. I'm also nervous, can't wait. Don't be nervous, get in there and give them a wee bit of something to think about. Exactly.
It's interesting about the nerves though. A lot of drivers do find it quite nerve-wracking coming in to take on the challenge, even in the FRR-idays events. And drivers that have raced in the FRR-idays events for quite a few races, they still feel the nerves when they get called up for a reserve drive in the World Championship or the World Series. Nerves can play a big factor. The only way you can build the confidence is to put the laps in on the track. Now Mr. Hamilton 44 has done a 27.3 sector 1, a 27.3 sector 2. Could be looking like a fairly decent lap here by him. Currently in 4th place, he's just been dropped down to 4th place actually. He started this lap in 2nd, he's now in 4th, but is he going to be able to improve on this and move himself back up the order? He is a 20.464. It's 1st place for Mr. Hamilton. Lefty hardtail's gone and put himself up into 2nd place. And he's coming up to the Parabolica now, but he's on a slow lap. RMS Maranello is now down to 3rd place. F1 Roadrunner, he's done a slow sector 1 time. Drew 871105. He's had a fairly decent sector 1, sector 2 not so great, and he's now heading into the pits. Azamor had a reserve drive on Thursday in the World Series, so he'll be looking forward to coming back onto the track here. 28.9 sector 1, 31.0 sector 2. Could be an in-lap this. It looks like his lap has been invalidated. Did Azamor have anything to say when they were firing in the messages earlier today?
Nah, I don't have anything from Azamor.
Oh, Azamor, you disappoint me. It's alright. I don't expect the drivers to have remembered, because to be honest, I'd forgotten. Okay, Millstar, he's back out on track. He's done a 27.8 sector 1, a 27.7 sector 2, but I think his lap's been invalidated, and that is something that the drivers are going to have to try and get used to, as RDB puts in a good lap time, just on a 121.622, 27.5, 27.8, 26.1 on the sectors. Let's have a look at the timing screen. Mr. Hamilton 44, fastest in all 3 sectors at the moment. Said he doesn't like this track, but at the moment he's definitely up there as the fastest. So is there anybody else, Ray, that we have got comments from?
No, that's all, sorry.
That's alright, that's not a problem. Well, what I will say to the drivers, if you do want to send us messages, pre-race comments, you are more than welcome to do so, but try and do them about an hour before, and I'll try and remember to come online and get the messages put together. Usually on a Thursday for the World Series, I sort that out about an hour before. Today I did come online a little bit late. I was watching cat videos on YouTube, what can I say? Okay, Joel Wright. No. I've been watching quite a lot on YouTube lately. Some very interesting go-karting stuff. But anyway, John 94 Rhinos. He's making his way into turn 4 and 5. He's just gone very, very deep, and off the track he goes. I think that might be his session over. It is. It's over for him. Cool Mr. Ennis, he's making his way up to turn 4 and 5. I mentioned about an interesting thing on the steward's guide, and it's to do with turn 4 and 5. Oh, Cool Mr. Ennis couldn't make the corner there. That's his lap over and done with. Aha, Alex, his lap has also been invalidated, and that's something that a few of these new drivers may have to take a bit of time to get used to. The FIA ruling is on strict, so if you do go off the track in qualifying, chances are it's going to invalidate your lap. Now, Lefty Hardtail, he's currently in second place. He's on an out lap, so let's go and see if he can improve on it. We should be able to stay on board with him for the whole of the lap. But yeah, turn 4 and 5, it's an interesting one. The temptation is, if you go off there, or go straight on at turn 4, to just dive straight back onto the track. So what we've tried doing at FRR Racing is using that area in the way it is intended in real life. So if you go off, there's a certain way to deal with being off into that area that allows you to return to track in a safe manner, and also allows, for example, if Lefty Hardtail is approaching the corner now, he's got a car a little bit ahead of him. If that car goes off, Lefty Hardtail would know exactly where that car is going to return to track, which would be just by this sign. So the driver can make an allowance for a car that's going to be returning back to track there. Now, Lefty Hardtail's done a sector 1 time for 27.5. nicely through the Lesmos. Let's see how he gets on through sector 2. Have we got any information on the timing screen at all, Ray, of perhaps anyone popping in any purple sector times?
Mr. Hamilton's got, he's got the first 2 sectors purple, and RMS Maranello's got the last sector in purple.
So Maranello's gone faster in the final sector then. Lefty Hardtail's just had a bit of an absolute mare through Ascari there. Got very, very sideways. I think his lap is over. Now, RMS Maranello, he's on another flyer. So is Mr. Hamilton. He's just started a flying lap. Now, we're not going to be able to stay on board for the whole of the laps, but RMS Maranello is just ahead of Mr. Hamilton 44 on track. He's backed out of it. He's backed out of it. Mr. Hamilton 44 then, he doesn't have to continue on. I'm not sure if anybody else may be able to challenge him for pole position here, but at the moment, it's looking like it is Mr. Hamilton's pole position. Sector 1, 27.3. His time's still going into the Lesmos. Nicely into the apex there, allows for a much faster run through the corner. Oh, but he's off, unless that was just a little bit of lag. Very odd on the visuals there. that may be a lap over. Perhaps he did run a little bit wide. I mean, something I have noticed actually, and it's something to bear in mind for any of the viewers or the drivers, that sometimes when you watch on broadcast view, you'll see a car apparently sort of four-wheel drift across the road. And what I believe it is, when a car has a tank slapper, visually, I don't think the game can really handle it. So what you'll see is a car do a bit of a four-wheel drift when it's actually a tank slapper. A bit of a visual effect there. But anyway, we've now been kicked up into the commentary box as Drew has been kicked into the kitty litter a little bit there. So not long now, the drivers just get to complete the laps that they are on. And we'll have a look at the qualifying timing screen to see how the new drivers got on there. Now, Ray, I do know you usually like to have a look at how many laps are invalidated. Don't do it just yet. You might want to have a look when we get to the timing screen. Because I think on average over the last few races, it's been around about 30 laps that have been invalidated in the FRR-idays qualifying sessions.
As many as I think that was... can't remember the track that was for.
Hungary.
Quite a lot.
Hungary, was it Hungary? I think it was Hungary. Yeah. But it's not surprising at Hungary because that is a very, very narrow, very, very tight, twisty track. Whereas Monza, it's very high speed. It's not that narrow. It's not that tight. But as soon as you start getting 2 cars wide, 3 cars wide, it gets very, very difficult. Now, this is a point for any of the drivers, and it's something that I have not really touched on much, but I will mention it. When I used to do help videos, I used to mention it a lot. A good bit of advice for all of the drivers is, at the start of the race, the only person that can brake at the latest possible point is the person that is in first place. Everybody else has to extend their braking point bit by bit by bit, relevant to their position. So if you're in 14th place, you can't brake at the 100-metre marker board for turn 1 at the start of the race. If you do, you're going to be ploughing into 13 cars that are ahead of you. Drivers have to make that allowance for the concertina effect, and somehow I think a Sauber is being sent back out on track when the session has already ended. Interesting. There we go. It was Drew. Okay, so Mr. Hamilton is on pole, Maranello in second, Lefty Hardtail third, Millstar fourth, RDB fifth, F1 Roadrunner sixth, Drew in seventh, and Azamort in eighth. So those guys fairly much in an order I would expect. Then we're into the new drivers of Boran, one of the regulars, Twist Royalty, that guy Myron, John Rhinos, Cool Mr. Ennis, and Aha Alex round up the grid. From pole to 14th, it's a split of 4 seconds, but for a few of the new drivers, they may have had to do a much slower lap to get a banker lap in. And that is one thing that I would say is, in a qualifying session for your first run, that's when you get your banker lap in. Get your banker lap in, you never know, you might surprise yourself by putting in a fairly decent time. For the rest of the qualifying session, you can then try pushing it a little bit more. Okay, Ray, so any predictions for this very wet start to the race that we're going to have here in Monza?
This is going to be fun, isn't it, Dermot?
It's going to be very fun. It'll be fun for us, it might not be for the drivers. Now, this is a situation where, for the World Championship and the World Series drivers, they're going to have to bear this possibility in mind. For these drivers, part firme's off, so if they've got a setup that's got a little bit more wing on, they could load that setup. For the World Championship and World Series drivers, they can't do that. So if you're running 1-1 wings in qualifying, and you get on the grid and it's raining, you're going to be running 1-1 wings, and it won't be very nice. Now we'll have a look at what it says for the strategy. It says the intermediate tyres will get all the way through the race on a 13-lap race, but what would be interesting here is if it does rain all the way through, yes, the inters may make it, but pitting for a new set of inters halfway through the race may give a massive benefit of lap time. But it's time now to get ready then, as the lights are on. 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and away they go. Headed now down into turn 1, and this is where the drivers need to try and keep it nice and tidy, keep it clean, no major dramas. That's what we're looking for as they head down to turn 1. It's going to get busy. It's going to get very busy. Oh, there's contact. Yep, we've got about 4, 5, 6 cars off. Not surprised by that one in a way. Okay, let's find out who is leading the race. Oh, that guy Myron, he's had a crash now on the exit or on the entry to Curva Grande. Mr. Hamilton 44, he's been hung out to dry around Curva Grande. Well, this is where for the drivers, and we've got another car going off. This is where for the drivers, you've got to keep it calm, guys. Another car going off. So we've got cars going off in every corner at the moment. You can't win the race on the first lap, guys. You can only lose it. We've got a car off into the gravel. That's going to make it busy for a little bit further down. I think it was Cool Mr. Ennis that I saw going off, and we've got cars dipping into the gravel all over the place. But this is where, as I mentioned, with a low aerodynamic setup, the drivers have probably come into this, made their way down to turn one, gone to hit the brakes and realised, you know what, they're not working. But that's because you haven't got enough grip in the car to be able to make the brakes work. It's getting very, very, very busy now. The best thing these drivers can do is just calm it down, get round the first lap without any dramas, without any crashes, and then really show us what you can do. There's no applause given for madness on the first lap of the race. And I will take this moment to actually mention that in the front row racing rules, when it comes to first corner collisions, they come with the harshest of penalties, because effectively you're ruining people's races at the very, very start. Okay, Lefty Hardtail at the start of lap 2. He's leading the race, followed by Millstar, who wanted to be ahead of RMS Maranello. Boran, he's now up to third place at the moment, so I have to keep an eye on him. I tell you what, Ray, you keep an eye on him, as I think we've got a bit of an overtake going on. Cool Mr. Ennis trying to make a move, but not making it work. I mean, I've got to try and keep it nice here, but Cool Mr. Ennis is off the track all over the place. I know nerves take an effect, but sometimes you just have to go, oh, there you go. You just have to go, right, let's keep it out of trouble. Oh, he's stuck now. He's in a situation where it doesn't matter where he goes, he's got cars driving through him. Okay, now Mr. Ennis, just take your time, keep it on the road. Don't put any extra pressure on yourself. You're at the back of the grid. Unfortunate, but pushing a little bit too hard perhaps. Okay, RMS Maranello, he's got himself up to 4th place. Mr. Hamilton's in 5th. And then we've got Azamore in 6th, with Drew in 7th and John Rhinos in 8th. Getting very, very busy here. Okay, Ray, what have you spotted? Anything of interest up at the front?
Boran's actually dropping off, but Millstar seems to be catching Lefty Hardtail.
Okay.
So, could be up for a battle in a couple laps' time.
Oh.
He's 1.2 seconds behind.
Drew had just done a beautiful overtake on Azamore, but he got the first corner slightly wrong, and that's put Azamore all over the back of him now. I mean, one of the things that we say a lot in commentary in our league races and even in the FRR-idays events is one of the things, oh, there we go, unlucky John. One of the things that you have to have as a driver is spatial awareness of where cars are around you. Oh, it's Drew running a little bit wide. Now you see Azamore there. He's seen him go wide. He's given him the space. But now Azamore's going wide and Drew's giving him the space. That's what we're on about. Driver awareness. If you haven't got that driver awareness, those situations end up in crashes and end up with frustrated drivers.
Yeah, and Hammertime 44 wants to know what's the question of the day.
I hadn't thought of one for the FRR-idays, you know. I'll see what I can come up with. Oh, aha, Alex running a little bit wide through a Ascari there. It looks like we've got a bit of a battle going on slightly further down. Let's see how Alex gets on around Parabolica. Actually, no, F1 Roadrunner. He's down in 11th place, even though he qualified much, much higher up the order. So he's managed to make up a position. Aha, Alex. Can't quite catch RDB. But I mean, it is massively frustrating. I mean, you know it as well as I do, Ray. It is massively frustrating as a driver when you've put practice in, you get to the start of the race, and at turn 1 you're getting shunted by a load of cars from behind. It's probably one of the worst things when it comes to online racing.
Yeah.
Oh, Drew going for a move. He's not going to make that work. Sorry, Ray. He's not going to... Well, I say he's not going to make that work. He did because Twist Royalty, I think, just realised that Drew was getting that one very wrong and gave him loads of space. Right, sorry, Ray, I cut you off there.
I've been in that position, but it's been mid-pack, not up the front.
Yeah, I think one of the situations that a lot of drivers will find themselves in is if they're used...
Starts off sideways, he's hit the barrier. This is going to let Maranello catch up.
Well, we said keep an eye on Millstar and Maranello because they're two that are wanting to be battling it out. We've got a bit of a battle going on further back again. Drew is a bit of perhaps a cork in a bottle here. He's being challenged by Twist Royalty and Azamort. Twist Royalty taking a very wide entry into the Parabolica. Azamort taking a slightly more conventional approach. As Mr. Hamilton 44 puts in the fastest lap of the race so far. Twist Royalty may be able to make a move here into turn one. He's got the speed, but has he got the brakes to be able to make it stick? No, he's had to back out of it. But Drew's gone deep again. He's struggling with that corner. And this will give Azamort a chance to try and sneak past, will it? Yes, it does, into Curva Grande. So Azamort gains a place there. I forgot what I was talking about a moment ago.
Hammer Time says he's got a question. Do you think Monza should stay on the calendar? That's not a question, that's just it should, because it's an iconic race.
Yeah, Monza should definitely stay on the calendar. Now, I do know that they're thinking about making some adjustments to the circuit, which I don't think they need to do. But they're thinking of doing it for the benefit of MotoGP. And as far as I'm concerned, you know what? If you want to make a new bit of racetrack, 5 laps in, cool Mr. Ennis gets a disqualification. That's a bit of a harsh lesson learnt for him there.
We could have an overtake at turn 1 between Millstar and Aram. Millstar's pitting. He's going for...
Okay, Millstar going for the pits then. I think... I was just watching a little bit of a battle and I've lost it now, but F1 Roadrunner in 11th place trying to catch up to 10th place Alex. Yeah, I mean with Monza, if they want to add a new bit of track for MotoGP, fine, but don't change the F1 track. The F1 track's absolutely fine. The F1 Roadrunner trying to make a move. He's got a car coming out of the pits though. It's Millstar, but he's avoided them. Millstar going to have to be careful now as he's got 2 cars approaching him at speed. And he manages to negotiate that quite nicely. Not easy to exit the pits here as cars are coming at you at about 215 to 220 miles an hour. But Millstar, having pitted, he's come out in a load of traffic. He'll be on what are effectively now faster tyres, but he's going to need to make passes and make them quick. Nicely up the inside of John Rhinos there. That's how you overtake into that corner. Takes 2 to tango. So well done, John Rhinos there, for giving the space that allows the overtake to be done. So yeah, Monza definitely should stay on the calendar. Now, Ray, I don't know if you want to have a look, see whether the race leader's going to be looking at going into the pits or second place. Now, he may come out right in the middle of this battle as well, or he's going to come out ahead of it. Alex massively sideways out of Ascari, but here comes Millstar passing the both of them. Benefit of the faster tyre. He said he was struggling with setup, but his setup's looking fairly comfortable at the moment. So RMS Maranello, he's continued on. So who is it that pitted, Ray? Who was it that was leading?
Left hardtail and he's down into turn 1 now.
So he has come out right behind the trail of cars. So Millstar
is lost out.
You're right. He's further behind him. I do apologise. Yeah, lefty hardtail is he's behind a trail of cars. Millstar's just worked his way through a lot of them. Now, for cool Mr. Ennis, I mean, what would you say to cool Mr. Ennis there, Ray? He's got 5 laps into the race. He's received a disqualification. What do you say to that one?
I'll keep it clean. It depends what his penalties were for, or his warnings were for. If it's track limits, then go back and watch the steward guides, watch everything, and go out on the track quite a lot and try and see where it's going to actually penalise you for going past that white line.
Yeah.
In some places it's stricter than others. And
I mean, what we are noticing in races is that it is giving less and less penalties, but more and more warnings. But it's tending to go warning, 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 so many warnings, bang, you're out. So when you're getting the warnings, you have to be adhering to them. You have to be going, okay, I've got a warning for that corner. I'm going to have to adjust how I'm going through it. Now, for some of the new drivers, they may not have had much practice time around this particular circuit, which could make it difficult for them to get used to the limits. But that's where now they should know that the next race, is at Singapore. Now, exceeding track limits at that circuit shouldn't really be much of a problem because it's got walls all the way around it. But there are a few corners where you can get caught out. So for all of these FRR-idays drivers, within the next couple of days, start making some attempts at practicing around the Singapore circuit. Find out where you're going to get the warnings, but remember that ideally you've got to be keeping two wheels on the tarmac at all times, because if you get yourself into a reserve drive, even if the game is not giving you a warning for having all four wheels off the track, the drivers do have the option of reporting you for being off the track, and that's where the ETL lifts come into play that are seen and explained on the steward's guides.
Yeah, we've got Mr. Hamilton 44, not at summertime 44, at Mr. Hamilton 44 catching Aaron S. Malinell with quite a lot in the braking zone, and into turn 1 and 2, that was a big gain he had there. We're coming round turn 3 up to the next chicane, don't know what it's called, I forgot, my brains went dead.
Della Rogia, I believe.
Just falling in behind him. We're coming through the Lesmons, I'm sure. I think he's just going to hold behind him until he gets back onto the straights.
Well, it's interesting that he was able to catch up in the braking zone, but in sort of the Lesmos, the mid-speed corners, he wasn't really able to make any kind of gains, but there's no heavy braking there. He's in the dirty air. So perhaps his car is set up for being able to be aggressive on the brakes, even in these tricky conditions. He's had a good exit of Ascari, though. That'll allow him to get close up to the Parabolica. Now, the question is, how far back is Lefty Hardtail, who's made a stop? These guys haven't. So how far back is Lefty Hardtail and Millstar?
19.1 seconds for Lefty Hardtail, and Millstar's 23.2 seconds.
Yep, so that's definitely the pit stoppers created that gap for them. Whether they're going to be able to close up enough to catch up, I doubt that very, very much. But it almost looks like it is easing off with the rain. I could be wrong on that one, though. I tell you what, it looks like we may have a bit of a battle brewing as Millstar just now puts in the fastest lap of the race. And he is in sixth place. Drew here, he's got Lefty Hardtail ahead of him. Drew, I don't think, has pitted. Millstar has pitted, so he's on faster potential tyres at the moment. I tell you what, Ray, with 3 laps to go, do you want to just have a quick look and see if many of the drivers have got penalties here?
Okay.
Oh, Drew taking a very tight line into turn 4 there, and that's what's hurting his speed through the corner. Millstar all over the back of him will want to get through as quick as he can. It sounded like you was going to say something a moment ago, Ray. What have you got for us?
I'll tell you in a second, I'm counting.
Okay, I've just put him off. Okay, Millstar is looking very aggressive. Drew's looking very tentative on his brakes. He's struggling in the braking zones, and Millstar is desperate to get past, but it's difficult to get past when the car ahead is getting the braking zones a little bit wrong. This is where Millstar needs to time this right if he can. He can see that Drew's out of position now. Oh, I was about to say don't try going around the outside because he's going to understeer wide. He has done. It's ended up in a collision. That's both of them facing the wrong direction and now getting on the way. And here comes F1 Roadrunner, who approaches them at full speed and manages to sneak past Drew. I mean, with the line that Drew was taking there, I mean, I could see that he was going to end up understeering straight on. I could see why Millstar would try going around the outside, but really it'd have been better off looking at a switchback there. Oh, as Drew gives F1 Roadrunner a bit of a nudge now, and really that's where Drew should go, you know what, I'll pull over and I'll let you through.
20 penalties and we've got a battle up at the front. Mr Hamilton's looking for the position into the Scary. Is he going to get it? No, he's put on the brakes a wee bit harder. They were right up his gearbox of RMS Maranello. Mr Hamilton will win, been practising with him earlier. He's fast in the dry. No, it's not dry, it's wet.
It is wet. But, I mean, Mr Hamilton 44 and RMS Maranello, they are both quick drivers. There is no doubting about that. That's why they qualify further up the grid. That's why they're out in first and second at the moment. Although the collisions on the first lap of the race, and there was a lot of them, did affect the running order, put people out of position. Obviously, others have done pit stops, but these guys are quick. So for any of the league drivers that are looking at the reserve drivers, things that they should be looking for is, okay, can the guys drive? Number one, are they quick? Can they bag my team some points? And have they got the spatial awareness to get the car to the end of the race without any damage? I mean, I know a few drivers in the World Championship last season picked Jason as their reserve driver, because you were guaranteed that he would get to the end of the race and score points. There was a couple of other drivers on occasion that were chosen and they couldn't quite get to the end of the race. So it's an interesting situation for the league drivers of who do they pick. Now, some of them will just pick people they know. Some will pick people because they've got a cool name. But really, I mean, when you're thinking about who you're going to have in as a reserve, you've got to pick the right guy for the right track that's going to give your team the most amount of points on the day. And Mr Hamilton 44 is getting very, very close here into the Parabolica, trying to follow as close as he can to get the benefit of the slipstream down the start-finish. If he can make the move here, it's going to make for a very, very interesting last lap. But Maranello going defensive. I think he is going up the inside anyway. Maranello gives him the room. So side by side, then into turn one. No, Hamilton's gone deep. He's gone deep. He can't make the corner. That's going to allow RMS Maranello to get back up alongside and possibly even ahead. It does. So that's Mr Hamilton 44 saying, you know what, I've gone for the overtake. I've not made it. Have your position back. And they're also the kind of things that us as a league we look for as for whether you're going to get onto the reserve driver list. We saw Drew a few moments ago give F1 Roadrunner a bit of a shunt off the track. Should have given the place back. Oh, and side by side. Oh wow, that's driving, guys. That's driving round the corner side by side. Even if there was a little bit of contact, they're both still going round the racetrack. Maranello might not like it much, but you know what? He's probably going to sit there and go, fair play, fair play. Good move that, mate. And that's what you call racing. But I tell you what, Maranello, he's not finished with this yet. He's going to try and have a run back at him. The engines will be turned up to rich now if they've got enough fuel to do it.
He's got it. He's got the slipstream. He's going for the inside line. This is going to be a battle to the line, not.
Hamilton's giving him the space. Now he's running out wide, though. It's going to be tight towards the line. They're going to be side by side, are they? No, I think Maranello's just slightly behind. He is slightly behind. Oh, what a finish. What a finish. Lefty Hardtail, he's in third place. Twist Royalty's in fourth. Millstars is in fifth. Just having a look through, see if we've got a bit of a battle going on anywhere. RDB seventh. Drew eighth with F1 Roadrunner in ninth. But yeah, as I was mentioning with Drew and Roadrunner, Drew gave Roadrunner a bit of a nudge at turn one, made an overtake. In that situation, best thing he could have done is pulled over and gone, you know what, go past, I've hit you off. Because in an FRR league race, if that collision had happened and Drew stays ahead, he's going to end up getting a penalty. But if he goes, you know what, I've hit you off, I'll back off, I'll let you through, carry on, he won't get a penalty. But F1 Roadrunner does manage to sneak through around the final corner. and crosses the line ahead. Azamor in 10th. That Myron guy, he's in 11th. I've not been able to follow him too much through this race, but I will be watching the race back, I'm fairly sure, to have a look at what did happen over the course of that first lap of the race. Very, very frantic, very, very busy. But what I would say to all of the drivers is you've got to have cleaner starts to the race, guys. All it ends up doing is frustrating your fellow drivers. And let's face it, drivers can be miserable people at the best of times. The last thing you want to do is bug them even more by crashing them off the track on the first lap of the race. Well, that went quick.
Yeah, that did.
It went very quick. Now, I tell you what, we've got a Mercedes on the top step, which means that Mr. Hamilton 44, he must have had a penalty. Or 2, or 3. Well, we'll have a look at the time screen in a moment as the drivers celebrate with a bottle of champagne. And in Monza, it will be proper champagne. None of this rose water stuff.
Yeah, and just to confirm, Mr. Ennis, it was track limits.
It was track limits. See, we have got a lot of penalties here. RMS Maranello takes the... Oh, I'll tell you, it says he takes the victory. I'm not quite sure about that one. It says they both got a 3-second penalty, but I'm fairly sure Mr. Hamilton 44 was ahead. But yeah, a bit of a strange one, that. You'll see quite a few more penalties the further we go down the grid. And a couple of drivers who did not finish. Me and you being 2 of them, Ray. I can't believe we didn't get to the end of that race.
I'll need to speak to the boss and get a bit of engine, eh?
Oh, too right. It's this Mano Marussia engine. It's not powerful enough. But okay, comments about that race then. What do you take from that one, Ray?
There was some great racing. First couple laps weren't too great. Once it settled down, it was in for a good race, and just keep the contact down a bit.
I mean, one thing I will say is, we get to watch a lot of the FRR-idays races. We get to see a number of different drivers coming through. We've seen a lot of drivers make improvements. Now, some of these new guys that have come in this week, they may feel that they have had an absolute shocker. Perhaps nerves got the better of them. Perhaps the weather got the better of them. Okay, the first lap may not have been very, very good. But don't get your head down. We look for the improvements, so make improvements for next week. Watch the video and take note of how drivers like RMS Maranello and Mr. Hamilton 44 are going side by side through the corners, giving each other room, making it a fair, good race. Don't put too much pressure on yourselves. If you're in a situation where you're surrounded by cars and you're making mistakes left, right and centre, there's nothing wrong with going, you know what, I'm just going to let these guys go. I'm going to let these guys go because I'm making too many mistakes, and I'll just go and put my laps in, and I'll make my laps. I'll improve each lap throughout the race, because although we may not spot everything on the broadcast, a driver that perhaps we see go, oh, he's struggling a bit. Oh, hang on, he's moved over. Let these guys through. That kind of would get our attention as what the hell is he doing, but also then we'd go, okay, perhaps he's just getting himself out of that situation. Because okay, yes, the FRR-idays events, it is a race, but it's, in a way, it's a glorified test session in a way. It's not about how fast you are, how aggressive you are. It's about your awareness. It's about where you position your car. How do you cope being side by side with people? How do you cope with the start of the race? I saw at the start of the race into turn 1, the first 4, 5, 6 cars looked like they were doing okay, but then there was a few cars that were going in there a little bit too quick, and it takes a bit of time to get that experience. I mentioned it at the end of qualifying, that the braking zone moves further and further back the further away from the front you are, and they're the things the drivers will have to pick up on. Okay?
Yep.
I think that's about it from me. Okay, if you've been watching this and you're thinking, I don't want to get involved in any of that, trust me, it is usually a lot better. That's probably, I mean, I will be honest, that is probably one of the worst first laps we've ever seen in the FRR-idays events. I won't gloss over that. It was not a particularly great first lap. But sometimes you can have it where one collision causes another collision and you're in a snowball effect. But if you have watched it and thought, you know what, I can do better than that, then the thing to do is to find the Front Row Racing Facebook page. It's the one with a picture of the Silverstone wing as its profile picture. Send us a message and we'll try and get you involved in the FRR-idays Cup. As I mentioned, it is a feeder series into the Front Row Racing leagues. Come along, drive clean, drive fair, keep it on the track, try not to get disqualified from track limits, and chances will be there to get onto the reserve driver list, and then the opportunity will be there for the league drivers to call upon you if they require you, or if they feel that you are good enough to take their place when they cannot make it. An interesting race, though. Like you said, Ray, once it settled down a little bit, we did see some very, very good racing in that.
Yep. People are just saying, John, he ran out of fuel again.
John, I can't believe, I don't know, turn your engine down, my man. Turn your Monza is a tricky one for fuel. It is a very tricky one for fuel. Okay, I think it's time to bring this broadcast to its closing moments. Next up in the FRR-idays Cup will be round... Oh, it couldn't be called a worse round. Round 13, Singapore. FRR-idays drivers, get your practice in around there. Okay, damage is off, but we don't want to be seeing wall riding, and we don't want to see you getting disqualified from the event for being off the track. Remember as well that it is first come first serves for the invites that get sent out. Those that are online, they get the invites first. If you're not there to accept the invite and the lobby gets full, apologies. Next up on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel will be on Wednesday for the Front Row Racing World Championship for round 12 at Monza. So we'll be able to compare how the World Championship drivers get on compared to the FRR-idays drivers. And for anyone that wonders why the FRR-idays is ahead of the World Championship in the World Series, is to give these guys the chance of racing around this track. They get the practice in, and then if they are called on as a reserve, they've already done a fair few laps around the track. Okay.
Yeah, and it lets a good record, well, because we record anyway, but it lets drivers see how they're doing as well.
It does, exactly. I mean, one thing I would also add is for the FRR-idays drivers, I have had to remind a few when they've come in as a reserve that part of the entry requirements in the World Championship and the World Series is that you have to record your footage, qualifying and the race. Not recording your footage for those races results in a disqualification. So for the FRR-idays drivers that have not done recording on the PlayStation 4 before, these FRR-idays events are very good events for practicing that recording, whether it be by double tapping share or testing whether your internet is strong enough to live stream. The only way you'll know is to try it. So practice your recordings, guys, and see how you can do it. If you do need help in finding out how to record, then as drivers in Front Row Racing, you're more than welcome to message the page, and we'll try and advise you on that one. Okay, definitely time to bring this to an end. It's a bit weird that we haven't got the PCF or the PCS to do this weekend, but it means that we both get a bit of a break, Ray, which I don't know about you, but I need one. But I will...
I'll be jumping on Project Cars.
Yeah, you'll be on Project. You'll be able to play on Project Cars instead of commentating. A little mention though for the Project Cars League drivers. Check out the Facebook page from today. There's information on there. You're going to need to be aware of what's going to be happening on our Facebook page over this weekend regarding the Project Cars Leagues. Okay, that's all the information I'm going to give on that one. Right, I've been Front Row Racing DP. He's been Front Row Racing RI. That's been a very wet Monza, so thank you for joining us, Ray.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're very welcome. Thank you to all of the viewers for watching and taking part, and thank you to all of the drivers. We'll see you on Wednesday for the World Championship, Thursday for the World Series, and then Friday for the FRR-idays. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.